John Lee has been on both sides of the law this week, attracting national media attention along the way. On Monday, he was placed on a 6-month good behaviour bond for assaulting a juvenile he caught stealing from his store. Today, another young man, 20-year-old Michael Johnson of East Maitland, faced Maitland Local Court, charged with stealing a video from Mr Lee in a separate incident in April. In an organised raid, Johnson walked into the store with 5 friends and was observed by Mr Lee, who was standing behind a two-way mirror, to remove a security strip and place the video down the front of his pants. Although Johnson was never found with a video, Magistrate Richard Wakely relied on Mr Lee's evidence. Johnson was found guilty of the theft, fined $750 and ordered to pay $300 witness expenses to Mr and Mrs Lee.
I think justice has been done today. It gives the shopkeepers a bit of hope at last, that we don't have to get in confrontation, that the judge will look at it.
Johnson maintains his innocence and is considering an appeal.
I'm sick of fighting.
Blake Doyle, NBN News. It's these people who will help decide whether Newcastle gets the CSIRO's Energy Technology Centre, a research facility looking at the efficient use of energy. They're part of a federal parliamentary works committee and toured the Steel River site late yesterday. Today they heard submissions for the project, which could create up to 100 jobs. CSIRO heads are confident one of the last remaining hurdles, a reluctance on the part of CSIRO staff to move to Newcastle, will be overcome.
Most of the staff are very excited over the concept, and I think we will manage in the end, once we really have to make those decisions, to get hopefully the majority of staff relocating.
If Newcastle is given the green light, work could begin on the Steel River site early next year. Meanwhile, the city's business leaders have called for more Australian Defence Force maintenance contracts for the Hunter. A Defence Review public meeting last night heard that the Hunter is only winning construction contracts like those at ADI and British Aerospace's lead-in fighter project at Williamtown. Business leaders say the Hunter has great skills for the ongoing maintenance and repair of defence equipment.
Sitting around, waiting, hoping, praying. Gone to the chapel so many times.
For the past 9 years in northern New South Wales, thousands have braved the winter chills sleeping outside for a night to help the homeless. This year's main event at the Riding for the Disabled headquarters at Raymond Terrace raised $20,000 and should elevate the overall tally to a record $50,000.
Fantastic, yeah, we've done a really good job. We had a great time and the money's still coming in.
Every cent will go towards Mission Australia's many programs for the homeless,
providing support, training, education for the homeless.
Meanwhile, another campaigner against homelessness is in Newcastle tonight. Father Chris Riley heads up Youth Off the Streets, an organisation dedicated to providing accommodation, education, counselling and jobs for young homeless people. He's speaking in the Hunter Valley Research Foundation lecture series on the impact of modern society on children.
The greatest impact that we're having on our children at the moment is that they don't have a lot of attachments in society, and once you have few attachments, you then form gangs, do crime, do drugs.
Ryan Bolsius and his wife have run the Caltex service station in Rutherford for 2 years now. And if business has been tough in that time, their run of luck has been even tougher.
This is our third break and enter, and we've had one hold up in the 2-year period.
Mr Bolsius is concerned that the break-in is a sign of the increasing crime in the Hunter. In the wake of the video store incident last week, where shoplifters were apprehended by the shopkeeper, who was later charged with assault, local police are refusing to comment, referring all inquiries to the area commander, who is unavailable to talk to us today. But shopkeepers aren't angry with police. They understand that the job at hand is about prevention rather than cure. However, they are still at a loss about what to do.
If I would have been here last night, I certainly would have defended the place. I think it's the only... What other course have you got? You can't just keep letting these people get away with this sort of thing.
And council is weighing into the argument, saying that while the crime rate may be increasing around Maitland, it's no different to anywhere else in the country.
But I think that from time to time it doesn't hurt any business just to review their own security measures. After all, it is their money that they're dealing with. We can't expect the police are going to be on every corner or in every shop once per day.
Adam Harper, NBN News.
We're told the cash is there, but they're having a conference of doctors to work out how it's being spent. I can tell them how to spend it, reopen the operating theatres and reopen the beds that have been closed.
It was a case of swim first and answer questions later for the Dutch. Security cameras, the only ones to catch the Olympic team in the water today. The first session in Newcastle for their Olympic preparation.
We do realise that there's a lot of pressure on the team, and that's one of the reasons why we don't want to put extra pressure on it.
Only arriving last night, the team looked far from worried today. But that's about all Inge de Bruin was allowed to say on camera today.
We need a couple of days just to get used to the time difference.
The 26-year-old set the swimming world alight this year with smashing good looks and world records. She holds the 50 and 100 metre world marks in both freestyle and butterfly.
It was amazing for us as well because you don't expect someone who's in hard training to swim that fast.
Her efforts also drew that pretty sus comment from Australia's Susie O'Neill, who's since apologised.
It was a bit of a disappointment, you know, because you don't expect something like Susie to say something like that. But, you know, they made it up. Susie sent an email and they spoke to each other and, well, that's it for us.
The team of 24 also includes Peter van der Hoogenbaan, who has strong gold medal chances in the 100 and 200 metre freestyle. The team will train in Newcastle right up until the Games. Newcastle Knights coach Warren Ryan doesn't have the fondest of memories of that match, but he's sure he's got the team to win it this time around.
This is the highest, the most skilled team I've ever coached.
And he knows the team will need every bit of it against the Roosters. While Newcastle easily accounted for them the last time they met, the Roosters were without Adrian Lamb.
Lamb being back in, he wasn't in when we beat them here. Lamb is an enormously important player to them. He's at you all the time.
Forced to leave training early yesterday, Peter Shields played down his back problems today. The departure of many Knights at the end of the year, though, including himself, has players pumped for a big finish.
These blokes have got to take that opportunity because, you never know when you're going to get that opportunity again.
With Shields off to St Helens next season, there had been speculation teammate Glenn Grief may join him in England.
I spoke to him today and I asked him today and he's staying here at Newcastle.
Grief missed the start in the 17-man strong side to play Sydney on Saturday. In fact, the team is unchanged from the one that beat Melbourne. The only concern is second rower Ben Kennedy, who continues to battle on with an ankle injury.
He's just played and just defied them to put him out, and he's basically doing the same again.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
This is the helping hand the teachers hope will make the HSC more achievable for young mums. 3 trained childcare workers look after the babies while their parents go to school.
They want to get back into education, into the workplace, and also to be able to learn more about parenting, which is part of what this program is about as well.
Danielle started her studies just 1 week after the birth of her son.
I think it's a good opportunity for me and Aiden so I can get my life back on track, and I want to eventually go to university.
Commonwealth Government funding kick-started the program, allowing childcare and education services to be offered in the one area. It's the first of its kind in this region and comes after educators, welfare and healthcare workers identified urgent demand. Students study 3 subjects initially, and organisers say the response so far has been overwhelming. It's almost at capacity just a week into the course.
We believe that it could be a model for other places to set up, and we'd love to support anyone else that's interested in setting up something along similar lines.
Brooke Webster, NBN News.
It's often said an abundance of frogs is a sign of a healthy environment. But in the past 20 years, Australia's amphibians have been dying out at a rapid rate.
We know that 3 species have gone extinct in the last 20 years. We've looked at several other species that have totally disappeared from various regions, so we're talking about hundreds of square kilometres where they no longer occur. And other populations are declining in areas where they were once very common.
Scientists have identified a fungus sweeping through the nation's frog population, and as yet there's no cure.
We don't know where it came from, and that's in fact a large scientific question, whether it was always in Australia and something else has happened and the frogs are now susceptible, or whether it came to Australia rather like an introduced disease.
Michael Marnie and his team from Newcastle University spend most of their time identifying which species have been struck down with the deadly fungus. But it seems it may not just be the fungus that is causing the decline in frog numbers.
Frogs have been in existence from the times before the dinosaurs. They're survivors, and they survive very well in most habitats. And so when frogs start blinking out, this is a real warning to us that things are going wrong on the planet.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Mayor John Tate returned from Canberra this afternoon confident the capital is well versed on Newcastle's maritime plans.
It was a very optimistic meeting as far as I was concerned. The Minister's very interested.
Those backing the Maritime Centre planned for Lee Wharf A have set themselves a 3-year goal.
We're certainly seeking federal as well as state support, and from the corporate sector we'll be seeking partnerships as well.
What they need is $1 million from the state government to acquire Lee Wharf A and $1.5 million from the federal government to set up the Maritime Centre. The museum's 30,000 photographs and 5,000 artefacts will be moved from their present Fort Scratchley site, freeing it up as a military museum and adding another tourist attraction to the city.
Fort Scratchley has its own natural and unique features, as well as the military component. We'll make sure that flourishes.
Federal Tourism Minister Jackie Kelly is expected to take a closer look at the plans when she visits Newcastle later this year. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
It's the business end of the season with 2 games between the Hunters and Premier League glory. On Saturday night they'll play North Sydney in an effort to make Sunday's final. The 2 teams won all after the regular rounds. But with ex-NBL stars like Ben Melmoth, Butch Hayes and Tony Jensen, the Hunters should come through.
Probably one of the better seasons that we've had ever, I suppose. But we've got some pretty good calibre players there, and everyone's got a lot of experience.
Meanwhile, some of the region's Olympic athletes and Olympic hopefuls received a timely financial boost today, courtesy of the Greater Youth Fund. Among the recipients of the $1,000 scholarships were swimmer Justin Norris and softballer Natalie Ward. However, none of the athletes were there in person. All are too busy training.
1997 and the Rio Tinto dispute stopped trains in their tracks. Alan Davies was in the mining giant's corner.
I was very proud to have been able to lead an operation through those turbulent times when the outcome has been a very productive and efficient operation.
A member of the Miners' Federation in his early days, Davies said his job at Hunter Valley No. 1 was to make it more efficient. He arrived in 1995 with 585 workers under him. Now there are just 260 and the mine produces more coal, but he admits it's been a tough road.
The thing that was focusing me the most was making the place a better business, and that is more productive, more efficient, removing those old outdated work practices.
He'll now be working as a director of a small mining company called Excel. On the other side of the industrial relations fence, the head of the Trades Hall Council for 21 years also bowed out today.
I mean, firstly, I've had 21 years of continuous employment, and secondly, I love the job. So within that context, I leave the job extremely satisfied.
He was fighting as jobs went in their thousands from BHP to the state dockyards, while also defending the Martyr and Wallsend hospitals.
But I think at the end of the day, being involved was important, and being there and being part of that change over that 21 years was a learning experience, and certainly invaluable.
To return here at the Olympic Games. One more chance remaining. Willing it on, as we do here, and it falls short. A great competition for Karen Perkins. She will take out this Olympic trial. One has the feeling that the selectors will take Sosimenko, returning after injury. Has to content herself with second today. But a wonderful competition for Karen Perkins.
Knock on. And then been for Newcastle. He's given it his all.
Nothing could ease the pain. As I said, the effort that goes into a premiership campaign, only those that go through it know it.
Minor Premiers Edgeworth had scored more goals than any other team this season, and by the way they started the grand final, you thought the trend would continue. But it was Olympic first on the board. A short corner and a Peter McGuinness cross started things, while Craig Walwork finished it with a left-foot drive. Olympic's defence then stepped in as well when Edgeworth went on the attack. The frustration grew. Even skipper Danny Gordon was guilty of going too far, picking up a yellow card. Hamilton scored just where it counted, with Corey Flipsevic's goal sending the team into party mode just before half-time. The second half was one of missed opportunities for the Eagles and growing frustration. Booking's about the only thing racked up by Edgeworth. For Olympics, Stu McAteer, he'd barely made his way off the bench, and he was on the score sheet. Hamilton's third goal securing a hat-trick of titles for the team and a big night of celebration.
Originally prompted by the death of a Bulli schoolgirl earlier this year, the Stay Safe inquiry found itself in Port Stephens today. Since July, it's received 200 submissions from staff, parents and students statewide, suggesting how to improve road safety near schools.
What is important to us is actually talking to the local community and actually looking at local community solutions.
It's worked in the past. Traffic in Swan Street alongside Raymond Terrace Public School moves much slower nowadays, thanks to campaigning for safety measures by parents and staff. But while each school has its own set of problems, Stay Safe has encountered some common issues, like the introduction and enforcement of 40-kilometre zones and the need for an independent review panel, instead of forcing communities to reapply to the RTA for something it may have already rejected.
A lot of schools are saying, well, is that appropriate? And I've got to say, I don't think it's appropriate. I think we should have a independent appeal process.
The inquiry continues until the end of the year. Colin Baldwin, NBN News. Finland has one of the prettiest landscapes in the world, and unfortunately Michael Guest had too close a look on the second stage of the rally. The Australian was forced to drive the best part of 3 stages with no nose and no turbo. A minor mechanical miracle later, and he was back on the road, but car troubles saw him finish day 1 in 54th outright. The second, though, was far better. Guest worked his way up to 36th through careful but quick driving. He even set a top 10 stage time in the afternoon. By the end of the third and final day, he was 30th, and after seeing dozens of his fellow competitors go out, just glad to finish.
Wasn't looking that good there at the end of special stage 2 early on in the rally when we wiped the front off the car, and it just goes to show how important it is to have a fantastic team behind you.
Guest's next event is at San Remo in October. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
The Players Association has been monitoring the ownership situation at the Breakers almost on a daily basis. But now David Hall is back in control, it's taken formal action to make sure players get what they're owed. Outstanding superannuation payments, believed to be around $60,000 in total, and other entitlements head their concerns. If players don't get paid in 7 days, they can proceed in terminating their contracts.
Some players will probably pay for their wages. Other people don't want to be involved in it.
The association will meet with players tomorrow night to see what more they can do. The news comes just 5 days from the Breakers' first trial match against the Parramatta Eagles.
I've got a really good program in place and it's going along fine. And just all this off-field stuff, it's just the only heartache we've got.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
BHP steelmaking is gone, but now the question is, should blast furnaces and coking ovens be kept in memory of what it was, or demolished to make something new?
The multi-purpose terminal actually is a cleared site. It has to be for the operation of the terminal, and we've made that quite clear to the government and to the Heritage Council.
A development application lodged by BHP with the state government deals with the dredging of the harbour and the storage of contaminated sludge on Kooragang Island, the demolition of the site and the sealing of the area in concrete and asphalt. Del Pratt's cottage and the tool room will be maintained to help in the interpretation of the steelworks' historical value, which Project Director Michael King hopes will satisfy the Heritage Council.
Now, if that means that that money would pay for a relocation of a blast furnace, well, sure, yeah, it's an option for the Heritage Council to consider.
How much money is that?
$4 million worth.
The total cost of the project, including heritage interpretation, is $300 million.
But we've suggested that parts of it could be moved, it could be repositioned on the site somewhere, and, it wouldn't be a major cost, but you couldn't move the whole blast furnace.
The Heritage Council wouldn't comment today on its plans for the site, but it will submit a report to the government. BHP says the development application will go on display in October and it hopes to have the multi-purpose container terminal in operation by 2003.